The Lagos electricity bill has been signed into law. So what does this mean for businesses, households, and the future of power supply in Lagos? Hello and welcome to another episode of LCFE Market Plus. My name is Joy Osamujame. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is LCFE Market Plus, and on set with me I have Ada Onora. She's the relationship manager for Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. Welcome on set.
Thank you,
and
Joy.
I'm so glad to have you with me today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Now we're talking about the Lagos electricity bill that was signed into law in December. Give us an overview. What does this law, now it's a law, not longer a bill, what does this law aim to achieve?
Okay, so the Lagos electricity law, like you said, was signed obviously by the governor of Lagos State in December of 2024. Of course, this law is an extension of the act that was signed by the president in 2023, which allows individuals and stakeholders and states to be able to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity in the state.
Nice.
So that means that eventually Lagos State is going to have power for everyone. That is the ultimate goal.
Now, I love the fact that she said power for everyone. Now, let's go down to the impact of this law that has been signed into bill. What should traders, households, what should they be expecting from this law?
Okay, so like I said, the ultimate goal is to have, power, energy for all of Lagos State, right? And this means that everybody should have power. And what does this mean on the back end? Meaning there's going to be a lot of investment opportunities, right? There's going to be a lot of competition. The goal is to actually create a framework that is viable, commercially viable for the state. Now that's to attract investors and ultimately now drill down to the end consumer to be able to get this 24 hours power that we are talking about.
Awesome. All right, before we continue, let's watch these highlights of the breakfast meeting of the Lagos electricity bill. Stay with us.
The rules of engagement is clear for everybody. So we don't need investment, right? We must build infrastructures, we must build power lines and all those things. We must bring in meters so that we can eliminate all these estimated billings, which is not fair to people, but which means everybody must have power. So how do we get that done? You need resources. So that's one of the reasons why we're here. So it's to make sure that all the pillars are standing.
On board the Lagos electricity market, about 5 new investors, and each of these market players that are coming in will be approaching the market for all manner of support. And I pray this will be the beginning of the market giving us the support that we need.
Welcome back. Now we're still on the Lagos electricity bill. We just watched the highlights of the breakfast meeting. Now let's talk about the challenges as well as opportunities. Yes, because I know, yes, it's an opportunity for investors. Tell us about the opportunities embedded in the bill that has been signed. What are the opportunities for investors, traders, and of course, what are the challenges that this law also proposes?
Yeah, I like how you have the two questions.
Exactly.
Intertwined, opportunities and challenges. Of course, with everything there's the good and the bad.
Exactly.
Right? So as far as opportunities, of course, we are looking at a lot of investment opportunities, and of course, this comes with like job creation, innovation, and also competitive market. So we're trying to make this a good framework. So that investors can see that's viable and invest and help our economic growth. Right, so that's as far as like opportunities, with the power supply. And then there's going to be, things like reduction of like electricity tagged, hopefully. Into underdeveloped areas, because you know in Lagos City there's still some areas that actually do not have light at all.
Really?
Yes.
In Lagos?
In Lagos State.
Amazing.
Yeah, so these are the kind of opportunities that we're going to see with this bill.
Okay.
And then as far as challenges, you know that with every change, anything that has to do with change, there's going to be a lot of resistance.
That's true.
So there's going to be resistance with the people that are currently doing things the way they do it right now, you know, the Eco Distro and the rest of other independent people that actually run in the electricity segment. We're going to see a lot of challenges with infrastructure costs, right? There was like a mention of about $33 billion needed for this project.
Okay.
And of course, with this comes a high tariffs for the end users that are going to be using power. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at, but hopefully we should be able to find a middle ground. And that's where, you know, platforms like LCFE come in to help stabilize the market and make sure that at the end of the day, investors get their money, but the end users also are not paying too much for electricity.
So let's talk about LCFE, because you just mentioned the LCFE. That's the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. And I'm so interested in that because the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange is standing as a game changer for this commodity, the electricity bill. Now, what measure and what is the role of LCFE in this, the electricity law that has been signed?
Okay, so LCFE is Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange.
Exactly.
We are coordinating a capital and investment segue for investors to come together and be able to drive this regulatory framework.
Okay.
So we are creating a deal room for all stakeholders within the industry and people in the capital markets to put together some synergies and deliberate on ways to drive the efficiency of this electricity bill.
Okay, so one more question for you before you go.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So now, what measure has been put in place to ensure that this electricity law is effective?
Okay, so there have been several like agencies and commissions that have been put together by the government. I don't know if you've heard of LASTEC. So LASTEC is the Lagos State Electricity Regulatory Commission. And so this body is going to ensure that rules are actually being implemented and people adhere to the rules, making sure that they are compliant and also issuing licenses.
Okay.
There's also been some task force that have been created to ensure that people do not vandalize infrastructure and that people also adhere to the rules and pay their bills. So different bodies that are going to be created. And I'm sure there are other things that are going to be put up as we walk through the process.
Now that pay the bill is very, very important, because one thing when it comes to Lagosians, they say, oh, the light bill is just too much. Now I hope that is worked on with this law that has been signed into.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough one for investors to make their money and not like increase in the cost of power. But hopefully, like we said, with the exchange and other tools and processes, we are able to make sure there's a balance in that segue. We're also employing that people do not destroy and vandalize infrastructure.
So with this, we can say that the Lagos State electricity has become a commodity.
Yes, it has become a commodity
that people can trade on, invest your money on.
Yes,
that's interesting.
We are working through this process again, like I said, with the deal room. Like I said, it's going to be a platform for people to come together and turn these things into products, and we can commoditize it and sell and buy. So that's one of the things the deal room is going to do.
So how soon are we expecting this deal room to start playing?
Maybe 3 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we should be live very soon. We're working through the process. We're working on the technology piece of it. And once that's done, we're also coordinating capital markets and stakeholders and investors to come together. So once that's done, hopefully within 3 to 6 months, the deal room should launch.
Awesome. So there you have it. And we've come to the end of today's episode of LCFE Market Plus. Do you want to follow us on all our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel? Also turn on your notifications button so you can get prompt updates whenever we post anything on our YouTube channel. Till I come your way next time, same time, do have a lovely week. Bye.